Paraty is a small colonial town, halfway between Rio and São Paulo if you're taking the long road. During colonial times, this town flourished because it was really important for the Portuguese crown, and it got preserved with the architecture from the 1700s. So today I will tell you what an itinerary of 3 days in Paraty looks like.
Hi, my name is Anna, and here on this channel we speak about everything related to food, culture, architecture, and much more in Brazil. Come with me as we explore this beautiful country together.
Paraty is the last town in the state of Rio de Janeiro before you reach São Paulo state. You can get there either by car or by bus. You can take the bus from the main stations both in Rio and São Paulo, and from Rio it takes around 4 hours and a half by bus because there is a stop midway, or if you rent a car or you're driving your own car, it will take you around 3 hours and a half from Rio and around 4 hours and a half from São Paulo. If you're taking the bus, make sure to sit on the left side if you're coming from Rio, or on the right side if you're coming from São Paulo, for the best views of the ocean and the mountains. And if you're driving, there are some outlooks throughout the way that you can stop and enjoy the view as well. I suggest on your first day that you get there really early as you possibly can. If you're able to hit the road around like 6 a.m. or something, just so you get there at 9 and enjoy the full day, that's even better. The reason why I'm saying that is because you probably want to do the boat tour on the first day. This is to avoid maybe missing out on the boat tour if it is rainy the other days. So if you get there on the first day and it's already sunny, make sure to go and do that, because the weather there can be very unpredictable and you might miss out on beautiful places to go and beautiful beaches to see if you don't do that as soon as you possibly can. The boat tour usually takes around 6 hours, and it takes you to several places that are secluded and are not available for you to go by car, so you would need to hike to those places, so it's pretty inaccessible without the boat. Most of them are gone by 9 or 10 a.m. It typically costs around 80 reais per person, and it fits around 50 people, and you can typically buy lunch over there as well. You can either schedule it in advance or reach the small harbor and ask for a boat that is leaving and go with one of them. You also have the option for private boats, so that you can do your own itinerary, take as long as you want, and the boat will be just for you, your friends and family, and the pilot, of course. Once you come back from the boat tour, if you feel like it, I suggest you take a quick walk around town during the day so that you see the beautiful colors of the buildings in the old town center, and maybe buy some artisanal items in there. You will also find a lot of indigenous items, because in that area there are a few indigenous tribes, so sometimes they go to Paraty to sell their art as well. After that, I suggest you go back home, chill for a bit, and maybe go out again for some live music or to enjoy one of the restaurants in town. I've been going there for like over 15 years, and in the past few years they improved a lot in terms of the restaurants that are there and some of the places that you can stay. The prices are typically slightly cheaper than in Rio, so a dinner for 2 people would probably cost around 150 to 180 reais depending on what you eat, but you can probably eat much cheaper if you, for example, go for some street food or some cheaper snack bar. On the second day, I suggest you take a tour to some of the waterfalls and some of the hikes you have there. The Tarzan well is very well known, but there are other places, other waterfalls and rivers that you can go. Usually you can use a tour. If you're driving your own car, you can also drive to some of these places, stop at a restaurant that are typically closed, and then just a quick hike of 10-15 minutes and you will be there. If you get a tour, typically they will already take you for a place for lunch, but it is also possible if you're going by car to just find a restaurant. A lot of things when you're not really in the town center are going to be much modest in the looks and much more rustic, so be aware of that, but also it's usually cheaper as well. If you have time in the afternoon, I also suggest you visit an alambique, which is a Kasasa Distillery. There are a few of them around Paraty. Paraty is very famous for their cachaças, and in them you will be able to learn on the process of making cachaça from the moment that they get all the sugar cane, they start fermenting it, pass it through all of those big barrels they have until they store it in oak and other types of barrels. It's quite interesting. And this one I went also had a museum of the cachaça with I think over 3,000 labels that you could just take a look from very old ones to very modern ones. And at the end, of course, you can buy the products over there. They have homemade products as well, obviously, as the cachaças, and usually they give you a little taste for free. The Kasasa Distillery tour, if you're going by yourself with your car, it's usually for free, as well as the tasting for the cachaça. And you are free not to buy anything if you don't want to, but you might want to take a bottle or two back home with you if you intend on doing some caipirinhas. Some of the tours I mentioned that goes to the waterfalls and to the hikes will be also taking you to the distillery as well. So just be mindful of that. Maybe take some extra cash with you to buy something. If you're in Paraty on a weekend and at night, you're going to notice it's very lively, and a lot of times they will have cultural events such as the Cachaça Festival, the Blues and Jazz Festival, and the most important Portuguese Literature Festival, FLIP, Festival da Literatura Portuguesa. They all happen in the city, usually over the weekends, but there are many other festivals. Pretty much every weekend there is something going on. So I suggest you check the city's website that I'm going to link down here and see their calendar, see if there is something that is interesting to you. This of course means higher prices and more crowded attractions. I tend to prefer less crowded places, so I went during the week. There was no festival going on, but this is the pavilion where they typically hold most of these festivals. So if you're there, make sure to stop by and see if there is something going on. On the third day, it's to the small village of Trindade. Trindade is a very rustic place. It has a very quiet vibe. Paraty is already quiet, but Trindade is very laid back. This is also an option for you to stay in if you prefer that. However, it is much more quieter, fewer options. I personally prefer to stay in Paraty because I think there are more things to do if you don't want to go out of the city. So as I was saying, Trindade also has some waterfalls that you can go to, all of that region has, but they also have a nice beach where you can go, and you can even fly the hand gliders. I was seeing, as I was sitting at the beach, I could see people flying the hand gliders, so I'm sure there is a way of doing that. If there is, I'm also going to link something down below, or some of the tours that I'm mentioning, I will probably link them down below here as well. The Trindade beach is a very long stretch of sand that is surrounded by lush green forest, and you can probably spend your day there. But there are some other places like the beach right next to it, which I forget the name, but you can see me going through with the car here, and that one has much stronger waves. Now, these were the things that I would do for you to get a sense of what Paraty looks like. A lot of these tours and places typically take around 6 hours per day, hence why there wasn't a lot of attractions that I mentioned here. But you also have some other options like kayaking, like water skiing, visiting the indigenous tribe, which is something I didn't do, but I really wanted to. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. And visiting some cultural centers as well as museums if you're interested in that as well. You can also do some hikes and hike their own sugarloaf that has the view of what we call a tropical fjord, which is the Saco do Mamangua, which is beautiful. And if you are athletic and you feel like it, you might want to do that. You probably need to take a boat all the way to Saco do Mamangua and then hike up Pico do Pão de Açúcar, the Sugarloaf Peak. Now for the prices. As I said in the beginning, the food typically will cost in a good restaurant around 150 to 180 for a couple. Most of these tours will cost you around 100 reais per person. Some of them can be a little bit more. For example, the one that you're visiting the indigenous tribe, the walking tour around the town center would be cheaper. For accommodation, you will have all sorts of prices. You have from hostels up until luxury, high-end boutique hotels, small hotels. I got a simple but nice middle range beach hotel, and that cost me around 300 reais per night for a couple, with breakfast included. A bus ticket from Rio to Paraty costs around 80 reais per person. And if you do rent a car, bear in mind that you will also need to pay quite a few tolls on the way there. So if you're renting a car, you let them know that you're going to Paraty and that you need the small tag that will be read by the tolls on the way, because there are no people operating. It's just an automatic toll, and read your tag and then charge it later on. So when you're leaving Paraty, be mindful of the mudslides on the road. So avoid going when it's raining too much, or if you're going after raining, make sure to check how the road situation is, because the road over there is beautiful. It's full of mountains and lush forest, but it's also very prone to mudslides. So you do not want to get caught on that, especially around summer, which is when you have very heavy rains in the afternoon and at night. So check on that, and if possible, sleep one extra night and leave early morning on the next day, which will be probably safer. So on this trip, you could also pair with like a couple, 2 or 3 days at least in Ilha Grande as well. So that would take you a full week to do both of them. Or if you're coming from São Paulo, you could also spend some time in Ubatuba. I don't have any videos of these places yet. However, I have this other video here that I think you will like, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!